Welcome everybody to RedRaiders.com. I'm Nick Cosmiter alongside Don Williams live from the Lubbock Avalanche-Journal studios. And today's an exciting day, Don, because we are debuting our 2012 Texas Tech pregame show. We're going to come to you all season long, at home and on the road, with our segment that includes videos, photos, and great stories, as well as analysis and predictions. We'll be here every week on RedRaiders.com leading into every Texas Tech game. And Don, without further ado, let's kind of just get right into it. Texas Tech, coming off a 5-7 season, is finally ready to play that first game to get that proverbial monkey off of its back. And as we finally do prepare to come off that 5-7 season, what are kind of just some of your general thoughts as we prepare to get started?
Well, it's good to be back, at least going to Jones Stadium, I think, for the first time in 9 months or so. And I know the players certainly have, they couldn't wait for this because it's an off-season unlike any of these guys have ever experienced, or really any Texas Tech football players in the past couple of decades have experienced. Now we just kind of have to get through that difficult time where you're playing Northwestern State, Texas State, New Mexico. It's not the most attractive non-conference games. Folks would probably rather be watching Tech play Northwestern than Northwestern State. But obviously this team has some work to do, and it's probably good that they have an opportunity to play some teams that they should handle and handle rather easily. Now, earlier this week, we heard from head coach Tommy Tuberville and some of the Red Raiders.
I mean, you can't live on the past in this conference because big plays are going to happen every week against most every team. So hopefully it's a growing process that we understand what we've got to do on defense and then what we've got to do if something, goes the other way on us.
I mean, I just want to be known as a quarterback that led this team to a Big 12 championship. I have some personal goals, but those really don't matter to me as much as winning football games here, and I want to do it for the guys that are my teammates, and I think we deserve it. And when it comes Saturday, I think we need to realize how much hard work we put in and all the things we've done together, and kind of let it loose and not worry about the past or the future. Just live in the moment and play football.
Obviously, Don, as we get started here, the defense, that's what we've talked about all off season long, and we're going to kind of continue to talk about it until we see what this unit actually does. Finishing 114th in the country the last 2 seasons, dead last in run defense last year. We've heard all the numbers. Now that we have, after a full month of fall camp, as we get ready to go, what kind of are your thoughts of where this unit is and what it has to be this season?
It's really hard to tell because this day and age, the way practices are structured, not just at Texas Tech, but all over the country, both collegiately and in the NFL, there's very limited contact with most teams because coaches are very wary of getting too many players injured before the season even starts. So Tech does a lot of kind of limited contact scrimmaging where they hit each other but they don't go full-on tackling. So we won't really know for sure again until we get into the actual games. Now there were some bright spots, and I think you can take a couple of positives, and that is that the defense did not get lit up in those scrimmages. They, for the most part, held the offense, forced them to kick a bunch of field goals in those 4 scrimmages that we watched this August. So that's a plus, I think. And then the other thing, when the 2 deep came out this week, went down and noted that there are 5 guys who will be starting on this defense who were not starting in the season opener last year. Now, and a lot of that is players in the front 7. Actually, 4 of those 5 are players in the front 7. You have Will Smith, the middle linebacker, getting the lion's share of the attention, but you also have 2 starting defensive ends who are new in Brandon Jackson and Jackson Richards, a redshirt freshman and a sophomore, with Dartwan Bush rotating with both of those guys. And then you have Delvon Simmons in the middle. He's a guy who weighs about the same as he did last year in the mid-280s, but I think his, he's probably a little stronger, a little better. He's kind of redistributed some weight a little bit better. And all 3 of those guys that we just mentioned on the defensive line were some of Tech's top recruits in recent years. So now it'll be a chance to see if these guys are really ready to step up, and they'll be a big key to this team improving its defense, if not drastically, at least maybe by, say, a touchdown a game or so over last year.
And, the defense is approaching this season kind of with a new mindset. DJ Johnson, the Tech senior safety, kind of initiated this chain gang defense where they're really just trying to have a more collective team mentality where every guy is relying on the other guy. And we spoke with DJ earlier this week about the different mentality this defense has.
You see a huge difference. I mean, they're more confident in each other. They're more aggressive. The aggression is crazy right now. It's ridiculous, especially during camp. You saw a lot more throwing people around. It didn't really matter if they were on our team, you know what I mean? So I really just enjoy the aggression and seeing them come downhill and then stopping the run. I mean, they really, really worked on stopping the run.
All right, now for a segment we call 5 Things. Pretty simple. We're going to look at talk about 5 things, units, people that we want to look for in this weekend's game. And Don, we'll start with you. What's kind of the first thing you're looking for?
I think one of the big keys will be offensive line play. I mean, coaches talk about it all the time. It's relevant for Texas Tech, particularly in the first month of this season. It's because not only do you have a couple of freshmen starting on the offensive line in Alfredo Morales and LaRaven Clark, but this is also a group that went through some injury issues, nothing major during preseason camp, but there were several guys in the offensive line who missed several days, a week at a time, for one thing or another. And so I'm not sure that the continuity and cohesiveness among those guys, there could be a question about whether it's there in game 1. I know, Tommy Tuberville was not real happy with, there was just a ton of false start penalties in those scrimmages that we watched in August. And so continuity in the offensive line, I think, will be one thing for the Red Raiders to kind of prove that they can establish early.
One of the things I'm looking for, is quarterback Seth Daggy. And while he is not necessarily a question mark by any means, there's a lot of other spots where they're more unsure of what people are going to look like. But Daggy is definitely the leader of this team, and one of the things that he has focused on in the offseason is being more able to just go on to the next play when he has a bad one. Teammates have talked about his confidence level, and so I'm eager to kind of just see how that translates and what that looks like on the football field in terms of him becoming a more confident leader and just sort of being able to push his team and to not let anybody get down. So that's kind of another thing I'm looking for.
I'll flip it over on the defensive side, and I think a big key, not just in the first game, but throughout the season, is going to be linebacker play for the Red Raiders. And it's a very different looking group from what we saw the entirety of last year, and certainly from during the first month of last season. This time last year, the Red Raiders were so desperate for playmakers that they actually went into the first month with 2 true freshmen starting, Blake Dees and Sam McGuavin. Right out of high school, were starting as true freshman linebackers for a team that plays Big 12 football. And they, showed potential, showed promise, but it was a little too much to ask for that much weight to be placed on the shoulders of a couple of freshmen. Now you look at this year, you have Will Smith, who's come in as a JUCO transfer, who really seems to have kind of taken a leadership role on the defense, a guy that shows playmaking potential. And you also have Terrence Bullitt, who's moved up from the safety position to play a linebacker spot. I think that may be a little bit overrated from the standpoint of he played a strong safety and he was very close to the line of scrimmage last year, but he's 20 pounds heavier this year, and he's a full-time linebacker. So I think better play out of that unit is something that's probably a reasonable expectation.
How about the crowd? That's one thing that I'm eager to kind of see. And Tommy Tuberville acknowledged this week that, that he knows there were some people who kind of left the reservation in terms of showing up and really kind of supporting Texas Tech last year. And you can hardly blame them when a lot of Tech's most lopsided losses were at home. They had to see their team get beat by 60 at home. They saw their team get beat by an Iowa State team by 34 points after they had gone and made this huge upset that made them look like they were going to be a top, or actually put them in the top 25. So obviously they know they have to win back this fan base, and I'm just kind of curious to see what that energy level is going to be like on Saturday, how many people are in the Jones, how loud it's going to be, and whether people are frustrated or not, a lot of times they cannot wait to just get back in that stadium and give it another chance. So I'm really interested to see what the environment's going to look like.
And that atmosphere and people in the stadium could affect a guy I'm going to talk about now, and that's the kicker Ryan Buston. We've watched him for gosh, how many practices now? 15 practices in the spring, 20 or so practices in August, and he has done a remarkable job of converting kicks. He's the Red Raiders' new kicker, a sophomore, left foot. He will remind you a little bit of Donnie Corona. Corona wore 49 and was left-footed. Ryan Buston wears 48, left-footed kicker, and has displayed a lot of accuracy. In the spring, he was fantastic, and in scrimmages, he made 15 out of 20 this past month. And Tommy Tuberville said, he's cautiously optimistic. To this point, he's done everything that they could ask for him to do. But all those kicks that we just described were in front of
it's going to be a little different.
a dozen people, maybe a couple of dozen. Going to be very different on Saturday to make sure that he still has the icy nerve, so to speak, I guess, if there's, when there's 50,000 people in the crowd, and there's going to be more than that when you go to some of the places in the Big 12.
You may have noticed one key figure that we left out of that last segment, and that's running back Eric Stevens, a senior who went through last year what can only be described as a catastrophic injury, torn ligaments in his leg, a dislocated kneecap, just a very gruesome injury. And our own Don Williams sat down with Eric this week and talked to him a little bit about what that journey has been like.
The last time most Texas Tech fans saw Red Raiders running back Eric Stevens was when he was being carted up the ramp at Jones AT&T Stadium last October. And even though Stevens gave Red Raiders fans some hope when he flashed them the guns up, there was still a stadium collectively holding its breath, knowing that the injury that he had just suffered could be one for the long term. There was speculation that Stevens would be redshirted this season because he suffered 2 torn knee ligaments, but this Saturday night he'll be coming back down the ramp at Jones AT&T Stadium, suited up, getting ready to play for the Red Raiders in what can only be described as a remarkable comeback.
We hate to lose Eric Stevens. It doesn't look good. Our prayers with him and his family.
It's going to be hard to do because he's such a great player, but I wish him the best, and I'll be praying for him. I know the rest of the team's feeling the same way.
First things first, it started off with me dropping the ball. I feel like if I caught the ball, none of this would ever happen, but I dropped it, and I threw my hands up, and with a turn, and the Montre, fell into my knee, and when he hit it, I felt the shift to my knee. I knew it was dislocated. I didn't know the extent of the injury, but I figured it wasn't good. I felt, like I said, I felt the shift in there. And ever since then, I've been pretty much trying to get back. I don't have no animosity towards him. I mean, it's part of the game. I mean, you know the risk that you take when you play the game. And it's just, like I said, it all comes with the game. Like I said, I didn't know what to expect. It was kind of nerve-wracking, not knowing the extent of the injury. I was really just waiting and anticipating the outcome of the MRI the next day. And when I got it back, I mean, I pretty much expected it, but I just had to roll with it. After, well, the entire injury was supposed to take up to a year to fully heal. With me doing the prehab and everything, it's been, I think, 9 months when I first came back. It's now, 11 months? I think September made 11 months. And I think I had a speedy recovery, and it went by pretty quick. And there's still little things that come with it. I mean, my knee still it'll swell up. It swelled up once since I've had the injury. I mean, since I had the surgery, it swelled up one time, and that's pretty much the only trouble I've had out of it, which has been a shock to our medical staff because they thought that I would have a couple more setbacks, but it's only given me a problem one time.
Before last year's Texas A&M game, what was the worst injury that you had gone through in your life or football career?
Fortunately, it was a broken leg, and with a broken leg, it heals and then you're done with it. You don't have to worry about leg and meds and all that other stuff. And like I said, that was a fortunate deal because I've never really encountered like a serious injury like this. That's why I say when I got hurt, I really didn't know what to expect. Luckily, I had a lot of guys around me supporting me.
Your broken leg was when?
7th grade.
And
Tibula.
junior high.
Junior
So
high.
middle school football. Which was the more painful of the injuries?
Honestly, I might have to say the broken leg. When I dislocated my knee, it really didn't hurt. It more of a shock factor than anything else. I don't know if that was because of the adrenaline or what, but ultimately I'll probably say the broken leg. But I will say that after that night, it was some pain. But the actual impact, it probably would be the broken leg. Well, at first it was all trying to get the motion back in the leg. Trying to get the motion back. We did a lot of upper body lifting, none in the lower body. As we progressed and got better, we started to squat and do stuff to strengthen the leg and all the muscles around it so that the ACL, MCL could be supported. And like I said, it's just a progressive thing. With each little part, each little section of the injury, you have to regain and build on something else. Like I said, at first it was just getting flexion, and then it was building the muscles around, and then it became squats and running and cutting. It was a long road. It's been a long, long journey, but I'm happy to be back. But my mindset was that I was going to work as hard as I could, keep faith, and let everything else take care of itself. And I think it worked out pretty well, and I feel like I'm ready to go.
Play last week in the scrimmage, you broke one off for 58 yards, which reminded a lot of us of the play that you had against Texas State last year. Describe that play for us and what you were feeling as you took the ball and then saw the daylight.
Well, I didn't score this time. When I got the ball, I seen the whole wide open. I just tried to hit it. And when I was running, I didn't feel anything. But with the brace on, you can tell the difference from when you don't have it on. And I didn't even have no clue that DJ was behind me. He came and got me. But as far as the knee is concerned, I didn't feel any really any pain or anything. It was just, I could just tell the brace was there because it kind of restricts your movement.
We're going to go by feel and see how he feels. I'd like to run him 30, 40 times. That's not going to happen. I think with our open scrimmages, I think most of y'all in here and people, I've seen a couple of clips on TV of his run down the field, about 60, 70 yards. It looked pretty good. But again, it's a little bit different when you're going against our guys and going against people that going to tear your head off. And that's going to happen this Saturday. So, but his knee's fine. It's just all mental. And he's probably a little bit overweight, so he does need work. It's like taking a horse out, it hadn't run a whole lot. You got to get him out there and get him in shape. And you can do all the running and lifting you want, but it doesn't really make any difference till you get him in that game shape, and he'll start that this week. So to answer your question, if he gets 10, 12 carries, that's probably going to be a lot.
Me personally, I know what he went through with the knee injury and everything, and the fact that he's worked so hard and he's back and he's ready to play is just a tribute to his hard work and what he did over the summer and after his knee surgery. So as a team, we're excited about him.
Saturday night, you'll come down the tunnel again, and you're listed number 1 on the depth chart. What will the feeling and emotion be like for you, do you think?
I'm just excited to play again. I'm not really thinking about anything else other than getting back out there with the team and making some plays. And I just want to put the whole ACL deal to rest, not only for the fans and the media, but to myself. So I feel like I said, I feel like I'm ready, but Saturday will be the final test for me, I guess.
That was a great story, Don, and obviously Eric Stevens is a pretty tough, remarkable young man.
Yeah, and a heck of a comeback for him to get back to the point 9 months after he suffers the knee ligament injuries to being able to even be considered to play, and not let alone being a starter going into this week's game. But it also underscores what people in this program have felt about Eric Stevens ever since he came in here as a freshman, and that is that he has maturity, that he has leadership skills, and that he has a strong work ethic. All those things he had to call upon to get back to this point.
Another emotional story we covered this week was the effects of Hurricane Isaac. Northwestern State had to leave one day early because of the storm, but the real effect was an emotional one. Many of the players on that team were affected by Hurricane Katrina, and Tech coach Tommy Tuberville also has experience with hurricane damage. In 1992, he was an assistant at Miami when Hurricane Andrew, the devastating storm, ripped along the Florida coastline. He was lucky enough to have his home spared, but he was the only one on the Miami coaching staff. We talked with Coach Tuberville earlier this week about what that experience was like.
Yeah, I went through Andrew. We were on a Saturday scrimmage, and right before 2 weeks before the first game, and head coach tells us all go home, take care of our families, and we'll see you tomorrow. Well, it was more than go take care of your families. I was the only coach that had a house left the next day. Me and my wife, the only one who were able to live in our house. And it's pretty tough. We packed up the team the next day. We went with 6 weeks to Vero Beach to Dodgertown. There's a lot of, I'm just watching TV last night, the displacement of college teams, high school teams, the Saints going to Cincinnati or somewhere. I mean, you can't imagine what it takes to go through something like that. And all those guys and coach players are leaving, like Northwestern left today, headed this way. They're leaving families behind. They can't bring them with them. And, we left our families behind when we went through Andrew. So there's a lot of things that you just can't imagine what goes on with one of those things coming and then after it's gone. So, our prayers go out to those people down there. It looks like they're going to get flooded from top to bottom, and all the work that's been going on. A lot of guys are not going to get to play this week, and they're going to have to move some games around.
Yeah, Nick, that was a fairly amazing story. Tuberville really has a lot of emotion when he describes it. Right now, we're going to go into what we like to call our Big 12 breakdown and national glance at games across the country. This week, not a lot of Big 12 stuff going on, some good national games, and normally we'll break down the whole conference, but we're going to concentrate on one game this week, really the one with the most intrigue, guys. Iowa State and Tulsa. Paul Rhodes, a lot of momentum there with that guy, but this is a very important game for them. This is, I don't dare say, maybe a must-win to start the season, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, as much as you can have a must-win perhaps in the beginning of the season, Iowa State is actually the underdog in this game, but I have a good feeling that Paul Rhodes and his so proud mantra of speeches are going to be lined up and ready to go, and I think that Iowa State's going to be able to handle being the underdog, and I think Steele Jantz, after having won that job, is ready to get out and prove that he's actually the one to lead that team.
Don, your thoughts on Tulsa, Iowa State?
I'm kind of like Nick. I know Tulsa's favored by 1.5, but several times in the last couple of years it seems like we've seen Iowa State, particularly early in the season, those fans really get fired up there, and Paul Rhodes has breathed a lot of excitement into that program. It's hard for me to picture them losing the season opener at home at a game that's a coin flip game. I think I'm taking the Cyclones too.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and spoil both of that momentum. Tulsa, good offense. Iowa State had a tough quarterback battle, a lot of pressure on those two kids. I think Tulsa and their offense get it done. They upset Iowa State on week 1. Nick, let's go into some of the national games of significance, and we had a hard time picking these three out because there's not a lot of marquee matchups. We'll start with one for the basic fact of its Texas Tech's opponent next week, Texas State and Houston. Don, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on that football game?
Cougars have so much positive momentum that I don't think the change in head coaches is going to affect them that much. They're coming off a season where they won 13 games. They beat Penn State in the Ticket City Bowl and still have some weapons back on this team. I know Texas State, from what we saw here last year at Jones AT&T Stadium on opening week, can give teams problems if you're not if you overlook them at all, but I think the Cougs probably roll in this one.
Yeah, I think Texas State, like Don said, is going to be improved, and as they play more games against tough competition, will be more in some of those games, but not this week. I think Houston, even after losing Case Keenum, that offense is still going to be up tempo, still going to score a lot of points, and they're going to be among the top teams in Conference USA, if not the best team there. So I say Houston pretty easily.
Yeah, same thing. Not a lot of stall here. Houston's system still in place. The win's still going to be in place. We're going to move on to the next one. A tasty little treat. SEC-ACC showdown. Auburn-Clemson. A lot of storylines here, Nick. Who do you like in this football game?
I like Taj Boyd. I like the Clemson quarterback who scored 38 total touchdowns last year as a guy that can beat you with his legs, with his arm. His second full season as the starter. I think that he's going to be strong. Clemson's going to be strong, and they're going to win this one. It's going to be a close one, but Clemson's going to pull it out.
Don, Battle of the Tigers. Who you got?
I'm taking Auburn. This one in Atlanta, so I'm going to take the Tigers to win. The Auburn Tigers to win it in SEC country.
Specifying that.
I'm going to take Auburn.
Okay, I'm going to go in the middle here. I'm going to go with Clemson. Brent Venables. You're going to see his efforts with that defense. Auburn has had a lot of off-the-field problems in the preseason. Had a quarterback the race decided late. I think Clemson goes in, wins that game over Auburn. Let's go to the big boy. Everyone paying attention to in Arlington, Texas this week. Alabama, Michigan. Is it going to be a game? Can Donard Robinson pull that major upset off of Alabama? Nick?
Yeah, it's obviously contrasting style. Robinson likes to get out there and use his legs, but if there's a tougher defense to run against, I don't know where it is. Alabama, after they won the last national championship, went 10-3 the next season, and by most standards, that's great. Not by Nick Saban standards. He doesn't want them feeling anything special about themselves just because they won the national championship last year. He's going to have them ready to go huge in this game. Alabama's going to win.
Don, what about you? You ready to take a big drink of the Michigan Kool-Aid?
No, not at all. I'm Alabama all the way on this one. I think we'll see Nick Saban's coaching skills in this one. It's early in the season, obviously, but I think he will have these guys ready to go the way he does come SEC time, come BCS bowl game time.
Right.
So I think you will kind of see his coaching skills on display here in the Alabama defense.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you. Alabama, matter of fact, they drill Michigan at Arlington. They embarrassed them. This is going to be a big mismatch. I got Alabama all the way. Speaking of mismatches and upsets, it's time for all three of us to pick our fantastic upset of the week. I'm going to start with Nick Kosmider. Who you got for us?
I've got Navy over Notre Dame, and maybe this is just because I have a close brother in the Navy, but you know, they won that game a couple years ago for the first time in decades, and you know, I think Navy is a team that always goes in there, always plays fundamentally sound football, always gives themselves a chance to win. They're always motivated for that game, and you know, I think maybe they have a chance there.
I love watching those service academy options when they're running well, so I hope you're right. I'm going to go with, this may be wishful thinking, but I think it actually has a shot to come through. The Ohio University Bobcats over Penn State. You know, the spread on this game is only 6 points, guys. Ohio U's coming off a 10-win season. They won the famous Idaho Potato Bowl, and you'll love this, Zach. Ohio U's quarterback, do you know who it is?
Hit me with it,
Tyler Tettleton, son of Mickey Tettleton, the former Major League Baseball player who's from Norman, Oklahoma. He's, you know, he threw for 3,000 yards last season and a whole bunch of touchdowns. So you have not only a team coming off its best year, but you also have a very good quarterback, a big-time coach in Frank Solich. And so I think Ohio U can capitalize on all the disarray at Penn State and can actually win this game.
He makes convincing points, doesn't he?
It's hard to argue.
Kick Penn State while they're severely down. We like it, Don. All right, my upset of the week, I'm going to stay in the state of Texas, and here's one for you. SMU over Baylor. The triumphant return of Garrett Gilbert to the quarterback position for the SMU Mustangs. They go into Floyd Casey Stadium, a Baylor team depleted by a lot of key losses. I think June Jones and crew get it done, and they pop Baylor on their home field, Nick.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be a challenge for that Baylor defense that has to show that it's going to make some improvements because June Jones always comes out firing. I don't know if I think it's quite going to happen, but I can see the reasoning.
Okay, and now we're going to end the segment with something we're going to make a tradition during our pregame shows, which should be entertaining, which is Zach's outlandish prediction of the week, where I probably just proved everyone why I'm probably not all there in the first place.
We may actually have to step aside a little bit here, right? Because you get a little bit wild and crazy.
Oh yeah, it's going to spew all kinds of stuff. I'm going to keep it moderate this week and just make a prediction that probably won't happen and is just completely nuts. But here we go. Are you ready for it, guys?
Ready?
I got this one. Texas Tech's going to drop 90 points on Northwestern State this weekend at Jones AT&T Stadium. I think the attitude of this football team is they have to go out and prove to the fan base in the country they're back. That 5-7 record was an absolute, disgruntled, horrible feeling for them. They come out, they tap their inner Mike Leach, yes, I said his name, and they dump 90 on Northwestern State. Michael Brewer, Seth Dagey, how about they both dump about 500 yards through the air? You guys buying that one?
That's about a touchdown every play?
Yeah, pretty much. Every time to the house.
That's outlandish. I don't think Tommy Tuberville would actually do that to an opposing coach if he had an opportunity to, so I can't really quite see that one happening.
No, PR battle's a PR battle, Don. You'll go to dirty places to win an election. All right, Nick.
All right, well, that's it for us this week on the Texas Tech pregame show. Again, be sure to stay with us all season long. We'll be doing these shows at home in front of the Jones before home games and on the road, the most complete coverage anywhere. Stay tuned to RedRaiders.com and LubbockOnline.com all year long for full coverage. For Don Williams and Zach Long, I'm Nick Kosmider. Have a great day.